Okay, first lesson of unit number 8. We need to add, subtract, multiply, and divide functions. First of all, naming gets confusing. So let's pretend we got our friend Pete, and his pet dog is named Pete, and his pet rock is named Pete, and even his imaginary friend, who most people don't see very well, is named Pete. This is real confusing. So perhaps instead of just calling him Pete, we'll use his first and last name. So we got Pizza, and Pete the dog, and Pete the rock, and Pete the imaginary friend. Now it's more clear who we're talking about, whether it's Pizza, Pete the dog, Pete the rock, or Pete the imaginary friend. And if you're curious about the pet rock, yeah, the 70s were weird. We had pet rocks. So same thing with functions. It's confusing if we just call all of them y. So I'll call the first one f of x, f for function, and then alphabetically the next one will be g of x, and if there's another one, alphabetically h of x. Addition is a piece of cake. We just add them together. We're just going to combine like terms. So I see the x squared, and then I have the plus 3x. Finally, 5 take away 1 is 4. Only thing I really need to be careful about subtraction is that I'm actually subtracting the entire function. Look at what I did with g of x here. I put it inside parentheses. So first I've got my h of x, the 6x cubed plus x squared plus 3x plus 23. But then I have to subtract the entire function. So think about the distributive property. Negative times x squared is negative x squared. Negative times negative 1 is a positive 1. And now it's just like we were adding again. Start with the 6x to the third. Then I look for my x squareds. Interesting, the positive x squared and the negative x squared cancel out. So then I'll go for my x's. I've got 3x. Finally, with the numbers, 23 plus 1 makes 24. Multiplication. Have we done this? Oh yeah. Right, you're probably tired of doing this. But for multiplication, we just take the two functions, multiply them together. Sometimes it might just be the distributive property. Sometimes we might FOIL. But we've been down that road several times. Just make sure that we get things in the correct order at the end. So where does the fun come? Well, of course, division. So let's get Pizza's entire family out here. All right. We got dad, mom, sister, brother, Rover, the family dog. Dad, of course, reminds us that we have to divide. Mom reminds us that we have to multiply. Sister reminds us that we must subtract. Brother reminds us we got to bring down. And then Rover, repeat. Rover says do it all over again. Repeat. So let's remember how this algorithm works with just plain old numbers. 5 will not divide into 4, but it will divide into 47. So I think 5 divides in there about 9 times. That's a D, divide. M, let's multiply. 5 times 9 is 45. Now subtract. That's what Sister tells us. 47, take away 45 is 2. Brothers, bring it down, bring it down, bring it down. Bring down the 1. Rover, let's repeat this. Okay, so let's divide. How many times does 5 divide into 21? Thinking about 4. Multiply. 4 times 5 is 20. Subtract. 21 subtract 20 is 1. Bring it down, bring it down. Here comes the 4. Let's repeat. 5 will divide into 14 twice. 5 times 2 is 10. Subtract, I get 4. Bring it down. Oh, there's nothing to bring down. Now, Rover, the family dog, will also remind me, besides repeating, that I also have to think about the remainder. So what's my remainder? Well, it's not 4. It's 4/5, because we're dividing by 5. So I've got a remainder of 4/5. So the answer is actually 942 and 4/5. Okay, let's get Pizza and his whole family to help us out with actually working with the functions with long division. Alright, so we're going to take h of x and we'll try to divide it by f of x using long division. So again, there's Pizza and his whole family. Right? Dad reminds us to divide, mom multiply, sister subtract, brother bring it down, bring it down. Rover, do it all over again, repeat. Now, I gotta remember place value. So I'm taking a look at that 3x, because that's my leading term. I'm looking at the 6x cubed, because that's the leading term. How many times does 3x divide into 6x cubed? Well, that'd be 2x squared. Thinking place value, I got to put it above the x squared. Now, if you're scratching your head and you're asking yourself, well, how can that be? Think about this. 3 times 2 will make that 6. X times x squared will make x to the third. And of course, because of place value, I've got to put x squared above the x squared. So now it's time for mom, multiply. Not only do I have to do the 3x times the 2x squared, I also have to do the plus 5 times the 2x squared. 3x times 2x squared gets 6x to the third power. And then 5 times 2x squared is 10x squared. Sister tells us subtract. Of course, 6x to the third minus 6x to the third is 0. And then x squared, subtract 10x squared, comes out as negative 9x squared. Notice I didn't add those, right? I didn't do x squared plus 10x squared and get 11x squared. No. It's x squared minus that positive 10x squared. 1 subtract 10 is negative 9. Brother, bring it down, bring it down. Bring down that next term. Okay, now again, I'm going to focus on my 3x and the negative 9x squared. How many times will 3x divide into negative 9x squared? Well, I know 3 times negative 3 will make that negative 9. X times x will make that x squared. But now when it's time to multiply, I've got to remember the entire binomial has to get multiplied by that negative 3x. Right, that whole expression. So 3x times negative 3x gets the negative 9x squared. And then the positive 5 times negative 3x makes negative 15x. Now, when it comes time to subtract, this is where I've got to be careful. Negative 9x squared subtract negative 9x squared is 0. But 3x subtract a negative 15x becomes 18x. right? 3 subtract negative 15 is positive 18. Okay, pizza, the brother, little pizza. Bring it down, bring it down. Bring down that positive 23. Right? 3x divides into 18x 6 times. So 6 times 3x is 18x. 6 times 5 is 30. When we subtract 18x, subtract 18x is 0. 23 subtract 30 is negative 7. Ooh, we've got a remainder. So our actual answer, 2x squared minus 3x plus 6 minus 7 over 3x plus 5. Right, because there was a remainder of negative 7, I put a subtraction symbol. 7's my numerator. And then because my divisor was 3x plus 5, that's my denominator. Alright. Now, do you notice anything interesting about the numerator on this one? We've got some x to the 4th going on, some x to the 3rd going on. I see an x squared. Ooh, I don't see a plain old x. So when I set up for my long division, notice that I put a plus 0x in there, right? Because I've got to think place value. With plain old numbers, you also would see the 0 in there. But with polynomials, when you've got several terms in the expression, sometimes if you've got no x's, well, we just don't write them down. So I need that 0x. Okay, let's get the whole family going. Pizza and his whole family. Right? Divide x times 2x to the 3rd will give me the 2x to the 4th. But when I multiply, I also have to do negative 3 times 2x to the 3rd. When I subtract, of course, 2 subtract 2 is 0. But negative 9 subtract negative 6 comes out as a negative 3. So I have negative 3x to the 3rd. Bring it down, bring it down. Okay, x times negative 3x squared will be a perfect match because x times negative 3x squared gives me negative 3x to the 3rd. And of course, negative 3 times negative 3x squared is positive 9x squared. Time to subtract. Negative 3 subtract negative 3, of course, that is 0. 4 subtract 9 is negative 5. Bring it down, bring it down. Seems kind of silly, but I bring down 0x because I think place value. It looks like negative 5x from the divide. Multiply, I'll get negative 5x squared plus 15x. Subtract, 0 subtract 15 is negative 15. Bring it down, bring it down. It looks like we need to multiply by negative 15 because negative 15 times x matches up beautifully as negative 15x. Negative 3 times negative 15, of course, makes 45. Subtract, and that's my remainder of 2. But I've got to write my answer correctly. Since the answer was a positive 2, notice I used an addition symbol before my fraction. 2 will be the numerator because that was the remainder. X minus 3 is the denominator because that was the divisor. Of course, IXL always seems to have to do something just a little bit unusual. So the terminology I use is a little bit different. If you consult enough math books, you'll find it both ways. Pizza approves. Right, you gotta agree with pizza. Pizza is just wonderful.